what it's all about, I think. And we all kind of said kind of the same thing, which is kind of neat. Okay, now this is a little personal. We're going to get a little personal here.
Yikes.
How did you guys meet? Where did you first meet?
Was it a church party?
She was playing.
Are you just saying it was a church party, or was it really a church
I'm not
party?
finished.
Oh, okay.
That's what they called it.
That's what they called it.
That wasn't what it was.
Elma was doing the records on a record player.
Yeah, okay.
Ooh.
DJ.
And everybody was
Mom was a
dancing.
DJ.
And I never danced before. Couldn't do it. But when I saw her, I asked, would you dance with me?
Oh, there you go.
And
Wow.
that was
I would
her.
love to see that.
Stepping out. Yeah, that's awesome.
Man, I didn't know how to dance.
How was his dancing?
Do you agree with that
My
story?
toes still hurt 55 years later. No, that's how we met. And it's true. And when I saw him, I just knew. And he couldn't speak English, but I could speak Dutch. And so that he had only been here 6 weeks. I met, and it was called a church youth coffee party.
Church youth.
A lot more than coffee over there, I think.
No coffee, though.
No coffee. Kenny? Yeah, there you go.
Oh.
There you go.
Oh.
There you go.
I love that. And we did dance. I mean, he stepped on my toes a bit, but that was fine. It was just, it's just, I don't know how to explain it. Some of you probably know. Just when you see that person, you know that person is different than everybody else that you've met. And I kind of knew in my heart, but I was going to give it time. Art would. But he did.
I always tell her she felt sorry for me. But it was really love at first sight. There was about 30 people there. Wow. And never forget that.
From across the room, I can see
Wow.
it. The light shined on Helma, and Art saw it. Zing! There it is.
And I didn't have a car. I had to basically bribe somebody to take me down there.
I did too.
Yep.
I was 17 and he was 18.
Wow.
How cute.
I didn't get a car till I was like 24 after we were married. But that was fine. It's not
That's
about
cool.
the car.
That's cool. So you guys agree on the story. You agree? Yeah. Okay.
Totally.
Well, that's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
That's good. What
It
about,
is.
do you want to share how we met, or
No, I want you to share first.
do you want to see if I remember?
Well, because it's probably different.
Well, it is kind of different. Unlike Mom and Dad, we kind of knew of each other before we actually knew each other, if that makes sense. So we started, and this is where I said earlier about how we were thinking about and talking about, like, how did we get to where we're at? And this is where it was really crazy, and I won't go into it because it would take too. We are connected in ways that, like, you go, wow, there was a lot of things that had to happen for us to get connected. It's really crazy how I mean, friends of friends and people that my dad worked with that went to church with them, that the guy that my dad worked with wasn't even a Christian. It was his daughter, and we knew the family, and it's craziness. But so we were going to the same church for quite some time. She's a little bit younger than I am, so we were kind of in different circles. She was very busy with the kids, and she knew my sister pretty well. I have a sister that's 10 years younger. Well, she's not like that anymore, but she was at the time. She's grown up now. Yeah, so like, we kind of knew the families, but we didn't know each other. And it wasn't until, I mean, when you started coming into the youth group, then we started to kind of we talked a little bit more. And then it was really, I remember that the time that we really connected was at Disneyland. That's what I remember anyway. I don't know if you remember it the same way, but we had a youth trip to Disneyland. I don't remember if it was New Year's Eve or if it was it might have been New Year's Eve. So we had the New Year's Eve, that was our special moment.
Yes.
So that's how I remember it.
Yes.
Is
That happened.
that similar to what you
Yes,
remember?
that happened.
She's probably going to remember all the times that I walked past her and didn't
Yeah.
notice her and all that
Yeah.
stuff. But
Yeah, he's 2 years older than me, and so I noticed him way before he saw me. So I had a few years of just, watching.
Dreaming about me.
Watching from a distance, yeah, probably 14. Yeah. Because I remember when he was starting to drive to church, and you would drive your family in the family station
Right,
wagon.
yeah, the big old
So he was,
country squire.
they have to get behind
with
the
the wood
wheel.
panel on the side.
Yeah, so I remember that, but just had a big crush, and so followed you around a little bit, and just waited.
She knew my brother and my sister pretty well.
Yeah.
I have a younger brother and then a sister, and she,
Yeah.
I don't know if you use them, but it kind of worked that way.
No, I did not use them.
Okay, moving right along.
Okay.
Okay, so this one's maybe quick and easy, but who proposed? Marriage.
I did.
You proposed marriage?
Yeah, I wasn't shy at all.
Okay, so yeah, you is that true, Mom?
Well, you've got to remember, we both come from the same country, but he had just come here. Customs, culture is very different.
Right.
And what they do now, where it's such a big deal, where they're on their knees in a football field or at Disneyland or hanging from a tree or something that everything is being filmed. It wasn't like that then. And
You didn't have a photographer there?
No, of course not. Of course not. I was thankful not. But we didn't really, there wasn't any specific time we proposed. What I remember was we had gone out maybe 3 times. And remember, we were just 17 and 18, and he was just here from another country. And I remember he just said, when we get married, how many kids do you want? And so I thought that was a proposal.
Dad. That's really smooth.
And I guess because he's from a family of 9 kids, he wanted to make sure I didn't want 9, but I said 10, and it was still okay.
Yeah, her really loved me.
Yeah, Mom and
That
Dad
helped.
fell in love with him and encouraged me constantly and said, he's the one, don't you see it?
She was a senior in high school, 8 because he had to get your diploma, yeah. And so I was driving by that house all the time, making sure nobody else come around.
Nobody else was walking
Were
her
you
home?
stalking her?
Yes, he was.
Kind of a stalker, wow. Sitting across the street.
Yep. I was in love.
Wow.
But he waited
Yeah.
until I said, I'm not dating until after graduation. But we did go out once because my parents said, you need to go out with that young man. He loves Jesus. He's from our country. He loves you, and he's a gentleman. My parents had already, get this, my parents had already gotten to know his parents
Her
who were
dad's a
in
cop.
Holland, policemen in Holland, but they connected, writing letters and saying their son was okay. He was having dinner with us. He was at our house all the time. And so I still remember that I had told him I needed to wait till graduation. I wanted to be on the honor roll, and you can't do that if you're dating. Not very easy, but he came after, he listened. He came after graduation the next morning at 8 o'clock in the morning. I was at Disneyland until 4 in the morning, so I just told them to come back at noon.
That's awesome. He saw what he wanted, and
He did.
He was
And then we
determined.
went to the beach, and I still have one picture of us sitting at the beach.
Nobody
Yes,
else was
someone
there.
else. I and asked him to take a picture of us, and I have that picture, and that was our first real date.
That's cool.
So,
That's cool.
but God knows. He knows so
I
much.
pursued her.
And yes, he did. And God has a plan for us, and this incredible plan of to think that he was in Holland, I was here, and this was already my second country we immigrated to, and yet in the Christian school, even of 400 students, there was not one I would consider marrying, and they were, a lot of them, you think of how God leads us and guides us. When you think of, okay, you have to look at that person as we're going to spend a lifetime together. You definitely want them to love Jesus like you do, have, a lot of similarities. But to think he was in Holland, and I had immigrated here from Canada, and all the different steps that took place for us to meet, that was incredible. That was incredible. God is at work in incredible ways, and I'm always thinking of the illustration that Corey ten Boom had about looking at the back of an embroidered pillow and seeing all the mess, all the yarn that crosses over, the different colors and that. That's the side that we see. And God sees the other finished side. And it's just incredible what he puts together in his plan. And if we're obedient to him, it just doesn't get any better. And so God brought us together very miraculously, and having the same culture and background has helped us all throughout the years, our marriage, because we understood each other better than if it would have been a totally different culture. And God was with us all throughout, and I'm so grateful for that. Yes. What a great marriage we've had, and not perfect. No marriage is perfect, but it's been excellent, and with the kids and with working together, and we had a heart to work together with everything we did. And God did amazing things, and with our kids, it was just, it's all a result of prayer. And sometimes it looks like the back of that pillow, but God sees the front. So just be obedient, because he'll take care that the colors and everything matches up.
Amen. Amen. You want to share real quick about that?
Yes.
I proposed, by the way.
Yes, he did propose. And we weren't at Disney in the middle of a football field, but it was out.
We were studying.
Well, we were sitting on the floor watching TV after a softball game.
Oh, it was? I thought we were
Yes.
studying school stuff.
Yes. He picked me up. He played softball for guess what team? Calvary Faith Center. Calvary Faith Center. Softball team.
Yeah. When I was just a kid,
And so he
playing with a
picked,
bunch of old guys who are like younger than I am now, but anyway.
he picked me up
It
and
was
he
fun.
said, I have some, he showed me these boxes of Cracker Jacks, and he says, I have a snack for us for after the game. And he put them under his seat in the car. And we went to his game, and so we came back to my house, and we're watching TV, sitting on the floor, not because we didn't have furniture, but because he was covered in softball dirt. And so
So I was stinky.
that's what we did on Saturday nights. So we're sitting on the floor watching TV or something.
It was in the old den.
Yeah.
At your house.
The Chino house.
Jacob's, where Jacob used to stay.
Yeah. And he pulled out the Cracker Jacks, and he says, let's have our snack. Let's have our Cracker Jacks. And I thought, this is so weird. Why does he keep making such a big deal about the Cracker Jacks? We had never had Cracker Jacks before. It was like, he's like, man, I've been craving.
baseball.
He goes, I've been craving Cracker Jacks. I thought, okay, whatever. And so open mine, and, you get the little prize in that little paper, that little square. And I could tell through the paper, I could tell that it was a ring. But in my mind, I had always heard the stories, the jokes about the little, like a toy ring. And so I hadn't even opened it yet. And I said, oh my gosh. And I hit him. I said, you're not going to believe what I got in my Cracker Jacks.
What did you get?
And he was like, what? And I said, close your eyes. You're not going to believe this. And I made him close his eyes, and I opened the package, and I could tell, obviously, it was a real ring. And I think I yelled at you and said, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how it went.
That's how it went down. It was fun.
Okay. This is probably going to be our last question.
Make it a good one.
At what age did you first know God had a call on your life, Dad?
I think when I was 14, because my dad was always involved in a lot of things that had to do with spiritual things. Brother Andrew, he influenced me.
Okay.
Corey ten Boom, she influenced me. My dad, I would say, had the greatest influence. And also, when I came here, with Morrison, from Teen Challenge. And so, Watchman Nee, I have books in Dutch from Watchman Nee, from China. And I've just many books by him, suffering for the gospel. So that's all together. Just,
As a teenager then?
yeah, yeah.
That's great. What about you, Mom? When did you know?
I was about, I think, 6 years old, and I was always very conscious and aware of God because I had a mom that taught me. She taught me to pray. From the time I was 4 years old, I would kneel by the bed with her and pray with her every day. And it just built a love for God in my heart. And then when I was 6 and we lived in the country by the farm, I used to play in the wheat fields. And I remember being very aware and conscious of God. And I would let myself fall in the wheat field and just lay on that. It's a soft cushion then. If you've never done this before, it's amazing. But it's good for kids, though. And I would lay down and I'd look at the sky and I would talk to God. And I remember saying, what language do you speak, God? Because I speak Dutch and Frisian and English. So what language do you speak? How do I talk to you? And I remember having open conversations with God like that as a kid. And so I just started speaking, and I mixed the languages up together. And years later, when I got filled with the Holy Spirit, when I was 26, and when I started speaking in tongues, that was the very same language I was speaking as I did when I was 6 years old. So we serve an amazing God. And even from that point, when I was 6, I just had a desire to serve God and to reach children. He put that in my heart when I was a kid. I loved children when I was 6. Children smaller than me and younger than me. And it's amazing how God puts that in your heart, and it's different for everyone. And then when we'd go to the library, which was our main event every week, my father would take us on Saturdays to the town library, and they had a whole section upstairs for children. But it wasn't kiddie books. It was that children all ages would like to read, and a whole section was on missions, section on animals, section on space, but the whole section on missions, there must have been maybe 300 books on that. And I started reading those books, and we would stay all Saturday afternoon at the library. We didn't have a TV until I was 8. So I would read those books while I was there, and then I got to check out 3 more and take them home. And I would read those in the week and bring them back and do the same thing. So I read 4 books a week on missions, and that's where my heart for missions came from. And it was just, it was an amazing thing what God did for me. And at that point, I thought, I will be a missionary. Somehow, it'll look different maybe a nurse, taking care of children, teach them about Jesus, maybe go to the mission field. And my heart was always for Africa, always. And I couldn't stand that song. It was a cute song about what people used to sing. You've heard the song, Lord, please don't send me to Africa. And I used to think, oh, God, send me to Africa. And someday I'll be a missionary there. And it all looks different when your life pans out. And then most of you know that it's been probably about 8 years ago, and Art and I got to take a missions trip to Africa, to South Africa and to Namibia. And God allowed me to teach 200 of those precious children all by myself in a humongous building where you could seat 1,000, and those 200 children all sat in the front and some on the floors, and everybody else left to their different classes. We didn't know how this was going to happen, and I'm in front of 200 children. And I taught them about John 3:16 and did a little puppet show with 2 of the little girls that were 8. And it was the most amazing experience in my life. And it was also, while I was doing this, it was like God was showing me, you know, this is what you've dreamt of. I've brought you here to fulfill that promise to you that you would be a missionary to Africa.
You discipled those 2 girls.
And I discipled the 2 8-year-old girls, and I left them both a puppet, and they promised to go and to tell other kids in the neighborhood about Jesus, how much he loved them. So it was amazing what God has done in that. He will fulfill every promise in your life. It may look different, it may look totally different, but he will fulfill it. His promises are
We may
true
go back.
and amen.
We may go back.
Yes, we may go back, not tomorrow.
Yeah,
But-
tomorrow. What about you, dear? What was your, when did you feel like God had a call on you?
Probably my teenager
Yeah.
years when I worked in Kid Zone as a teenager, and then in my early 20s when we were married, because I did what Mom does now in Kid Zone at that time, and the thing that I learned over time, at that time I thought that was going to be it forever, and what I learned was that he's just looking for a surrendered heart, a surrendered life, and so that's what I've ended up living, and he changes what the assignment looks like from season to season. And so when you're surrendered to him, then you're just allowing him to shape you and take you into different places. And he's led me to do things that I never thought that I would do, and lead things and serve him in ways that I never dreamed that I would do. I never thought I would do this. So yeah, that's all I knew, was that I was going to serve him in some way. Really, at that time, I thought it was going to be kids ministry forever, but it just changes.
That's great. I learned about a week ago.
Oh my gosh.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But it hasn't been that long.
No.
I was not like the rest, where it was early in my life, because I didn't want to do this. And I had
Be
my
honest.
plan.
Be honest.
I had my plans, but you said something important, I think, and that's surrender. And I think that the thing I've realized now is that God has a call on all of us in some form or fashion. We all have gifts. We all have things that God has given to us, but it's getting to that place to where we can say, okay, God, I'm surrendering my life to you. I'm giving this to you to use me in the way, and I don't mean use me like in our flesh we think about using, but allowing us to be in the story that God has created for us, the story that he penned before the foundation of the earth about all of us. And it's getting to that place to where we realize that that's the truth. Whether we want it or not, God can't make us change. That's up to us. We have to decide, yes, I'm going to surrender. I'm going to do this. But know that if you haven't yet surrendered, he has an amazing call for you. He has amazing things that you're going to do that are above and beyond anything you could ever believe that you could do, because he's with you. He's always with you to lead you to where he's created you to go. And that's true for everyone. Whether we realize it or not, again, that's up to us. But it is true that he does have a call on each and every one of us to do amazing things in this world, in the love that he's given to us. And so that was really when it changed for me, it was when I realized that, yeah, Bob, I do care about you, I do love you, and I do have things for you to do. And when that happened, it totally changed. It totally changed my life.
Yes, it did.
And she can testify to that.
It changed my life.
It changed. So, yeah.
His church got started in his home.
His mom and dad's house.
Yeah.
Bob and Marta,
Yeah.
we had prayer meetings in their home week after week after week.
Yeah.
And I forget if it was 9 months, a year. That's when the church got birthed. So there's a interconnection, like you said.
Right.
You don't know
Right.
what God was doing.
Yeah.
But I noticed when we'd come over to have prayer and a bunch of other people, they'd leave.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that is when I fell in love with intercession.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and I guess that to wrap up this morning is that's really the message I believe God has for us, is that don't look at your life in things like that may have happened that were good or bad. Don't look at them as just chance. God has a purpose. And I don't mean that to say that when bad things happen in your life that God did it, but I want you to realize that God has a plan regardless of what it might look like with our flesh, with our eyes that he's given us to see things, the physical things, that regardless of what that is, he does work all things together for the good of those who love him And when we live that way, we're going to see amazing things. And we're not going to get stuck in the place of, oh no, this happened again. But we're going to say, God, I know that you're going to use this to strengthen me, to be stronger, to testify to somebody else, to help somebody else in their life, or to do something amazing with even the pain that was caused in my life. Not only with the good things that happen in our lives, but even with the pain, God has good that he can bring out of it. And when we live our life that way, we're going to see absolutely amazing things, and you will too in your life. So thank you all for coming. Again, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to you all, and we look forward to seeing you and the amazing things that God's going to do in all of our lives coming up next year. God bless you all.
We've come to join the song, sung long before our lives, to raise our voice alone. Heaven and earth alike, and we've seen your faithful hand, your mercy without end, and a King who bled and died, and a God who sacrificed, and be enthroned upon the praises of 1,000 generations. You are worthy, Lord of all, and unto you, the slain and risen King, we lay